Hey guys, Frankie Tech Lord Taylor, lead games systems programmer and designer at headlessstudios.com, here to talk about PROTOS. Guys, here's the deal. PROTOS is a multi-user level and entity construction system. The reason why we're developing PROTOS, firstly, is because of two things. We want to utilize the game engine's power for networking so that we can collaboratively construct both level and entities. Entities would be characters, weapons, vehicles, buildings, trees, you name it, any large entity within the game world or that occupies the game world would be considered a entity. As an in-game construction system, it's going to provide the base for various editors in-game. Now, there's different networking operation modes for different purposes. We divide those up into four types. Okay, you have developers, game admins, the game players, and the game modders. Okay, so developers will work together to both solo and collaboratively prefabricate assemblies and entities in game. They can then save and load these saved entities in game into the Unreal Engine editor, and they would do that to build the lighting, nav meshes, and more. So what will differentiate PROTOS from the typical implementation is that some folks are building plugins to enhance the Unreal Engine editor. We're actually leveraging the game engine itself to construct the levels and entities, and then we will load those or import those into the editor so that we can build the lighting and nav meshes, etc. That will be an advantage for us with PROTOS. So game admins would be your DMs or GMs. Basically, these are the individuals who create quests, so that game admins would be able to collaboratively participate in creating the quest, building dungeons, and populating those dungeons with bosses and treasure, etc. They will also be able to develop the character dialogue and narrative. These features are also available to the game developers. But when I was thinking about this particular operation mode, it was with RPGs in mind. Players will be able to solo and collaboratively, which that will be something different compared to a lot of other games that do allow you to customize the character, weapons, vehicles, etc. We'll be able to flip a switch on and off whether or not we want players to be able to work together to create these entities. So, I've been inspired by various games with some form of customization for the player. Armored Core allowed the players to swap out parts to customize their mechs. We have Scene Fusion that allows multiple players to collaborate building a world from architecture, tree, foliage, etc. I've seen this firstly used in a game engine called the Hero Engine. Their world construction system is designed to collaboratively allow multiple users to build the game world together. What I liked about Scene Fusion is that it identifies the players using a colored highlighting system. So user 1 could be red, user 2 could be green, and whatever objects that they're manipulating at the world at that time will be highlighted in that color of their choice or their character. Character creation. There's a lot of good games out there, Black Desert being one of those games with really high level of detail on their character customization system. But I was really, what I really enjoyed, what we would capture that kind of level of character customization, but that's going to require skeletal meshes with morph targets and that allow that type of customization over facial features, muscles, etc. So Dash Studio 3D was one of the third-party editing softwares I was considering for producing those type of character-based bodies. I think iClone may be one that's worthy of use for that purpose. But what I wanted to highlight on the character creation in Destiny, I was watching a GDC talk, and the character creation for Destiny, they actually use a in-house editor to build the character pieces with what they call bits and gibs. So the gibs are smaller, tiny pieces that they assemble together to form the larger parts that they call bits. And then those bits are connected together to form the armor and weaponry. I just would wrap that all up as a type of hierarchical construction process where you build smaller parts, assemble smaller parts to form larger parts and groups, etc. Another inspiration for me was a Spore Creature Creator. That was not only a character customization system, but it also utilized a form of procedural mesh generation for the organic shapes of the creatures themselves. And you swap out noses, the hand type, feet type, etc., to form different types of monsters. And that was I could see that tool being utilized to just create a plethora of monsters for an RPG. I don't see why not. I think that the team that developed Spore probably could have looked at that and created a exportation process that allowed devs to purchase the Spore Creature Creator and utilize those creatures inside their games. Well, we're not waiting for them. We're going to create our own. Then I played several different racing games that allowed you to tune the car, and also known as car or vehicle customization. Same type of customization process. You're essentially building smaller parts or connecting or attaching smaller parts to create larger parts, and then you swap out those parts on the chassis to form a customized vehicle. And then we have firearm weaponry. I've always wanted to work on an FPS that had a first-person weapon customization system. And first-person shooters, I believe that the player is the weapon. In other words, that's all you see on the screen. So the weapon is a representation of the persona. And I believe that by allowing the player to customize the gun weapon will bond that player to the game through a form of ownership, because they customize their weapon for their use, and it reflects their and looks the way that they want it to. Other inspirations come from my work with I had an idea due to the lack of my 3D modeling skills. The idea that I had was that I would just mash up a bunch of smaller meshes together to form complex, larger parts and pieces. And that is where the collage construction methodology came from. And in my prototyping of that idea, I created something I call Golem Craft. And as you can see here on the right side here in this image, this is what I came up with just using basic rectangular cubes and some spears. Other games out there that I enjoy that kind of have an arbitrary construction process to them would be Robocraft. The thing I like about Robocraft is that you build and assemble your vehicles, and then you mount those vehicles with weapons, and then you can actually play those inside the game world, combating other players. There's another game out there called, the name escapes me at this point in time, but I cannot leave out Minecraft. That with its voxel engine created a new class of, or new genre in my opinion, which is the creation game, where players basically took the resources in those games and created art that was not anticipated by the actual creator of Minecraft, but that's what happened. And that type of emergent gameplay, that game became very popular and sold very well because it allowed the players to create what they wanted to. Okay, so what I want to do now is actually talk about PROTOS and where I'm at with the editor. Now, I'm a firm believer in two things: saving time, not in reinventing the wheel. And if I'm going to spend time creating things, it's going to be things that don't exist. So for PROTOS to get us going here, I've employed several different blueprint packages available from the Unreal Marketplace. I purchased those packages, and I purchased those packages with the intent for two things: to learn, reverse engineer those packages to utilize them in different ways and expand on them, and two, to save time. That's what our primary objective is here with the development, is to save as much time as possible, because with a volunteer-based team like we have, internationally based, working different time zones, volunteer time, everybody's working for free at this point in time. We cannot allow or afford to waste a lot of time recreating things that already exist. People will lose motivation. When people lose motivation, they quit the team. We want to keep everybody on the team inspired and produce results as fast as we possibly can. So with that said, I've updated the Perforce server. If you were to acquire the latest update and it updates the configuration files, you should see exactly what I see here. And with that, what I have done, the first thing that I employed as far as Unreal Marketplace packages go was the BP Networking Lobby System by EXI, the writer of the Network Compendium for Unreal Engine. So with that said, here, if you were to click, if you launch that project and you're able to see this title screen that I see here, you have some links or buttons here at the bottom that will take you to one. The first is the design document. That when you click that will take you to the design document here on Google Docs, and that will show you the actual document that we're writing in to develop. And this is a living document, which means everything is not in stone. It will change over time to meet the need. We may have features in here that may get cut out. Features may change. So that's what the design document for. It's not written in stone. It's designed to adapt to the situation. And that's what we're using it for here. Dev Notes is part of the lobby system. It is a text-based, looks like a text-based widget that has some text in here to explain some things. I haven't used that yet, but that's part of the lobby system, and I plan to use that to our advantage here. The online manual, when we get one, this should point to it. We'll change the URL for it to point to that documentation. And this here will take you to the Headless Studios homepage, which, of course, is at headlessstudios.com. That's the hub where all of our apps are located, and all the team projects are located there as well. All right, guys, so two things. Multiplayer testing. This is where we're going to be, whoever the server will be hosting the world, and then clients will join the world with the by selecting that join world option. Okay, so I'm just going to leave things as they are default. I'm changing a few things here. I'm leaving the default server map. We only need one player. I'm using sessions. I really don't know if that's valuable or not at this point in time. Map. Okay, so a couple of things you have to do is add the maps manually to the array utilized by the Blueprint Networking Lobby package. And I've set up a map called Test Map 2 that contains objects that we can spawn and orientate into the world and manipulate those objects. And then there's game modes. The first game mode here is group chat. I'm gonna be using that for testing the chat features of the lobby system, which I have yet to do. There is a free-for-all first-person or third-person combat map, which I've only seen once. and team based. I'm not using any of those, but what I want to point out here is that what I intended to do was create a base gameplay framework and utilize modular game modes to assemble the gameplay modes for each game or project that the various teams are working on, so that we are all working from the same core. And what this will allow us to do is to spend less time recreating things. That's what ultimately my goal is. So we're gonna host the game. All right, then we go to default player. I'm not changing anything. Select class. At this point, all that represents is just color. What I expect this to do is that when you pick a player, you would pick a color that you would use to highlight the different objects that you will be manipulating inside the game world collaboratively. We're gonna pick red. I like red. Red's a cool color. So are the other ones. I don't have a favorite color. I like all colors. All right, but red. We're going with red for this one because it's exciting. Some color therapy or something. Red is an exciting color, not like hot pink. All right, so we start the round. All right, I'm going to change the verbiage on that. I like host the starting world better, but minor. Okay, guys, so now that we're inside and running PROTOS, there's some things I want to point out. I'm using actually 3 different Unreal Engine Marketplace packages. The first one I want to point your attention to inside of here is going to be the Blueprint key mapping system. Hit enter and you will see to the top left is a list of input keys, input access, and they're mapped to a specific function. What I like about this system is that it gives way more flexibility to how you manage your inputs, and it allows you in real time to remap or reconfigure your input keys for the specific action. All the direct inputs that you're currently using will need to be swapped out for the events that this system uses. It's called input action system. So those will need to be swapped out, and I will take responsibility for that to help get that done in doing that. So the second Unreal Marketplace BP package I want to point to was a BP package that's apparently no longer that received bad reviews because it's so basic. But for my needs, it actually met a goal for me. It provided 2 things. It provided a gizmo where you could we're gonna hit 3 for build mode that actually operates on a grid, and as you can see that jittering around like that, that's because it's moving from an invisible grid point from one to the other. The second feature that I liked about the system that generic build system had was that it provides this hologram shape that represents the shape to be spawned. I thought this was pretty neat. You didn't have to guess at what shape that you were spawning because you could see it from the hologram. We can change the hologram shape by pressing, and this is just mapped by the key system here, by pressing the left and right alt. All right, and this is how we go rotate through those different shapes that we have, and we can easily change the shapes. Right now I'm using the list of, there's a set of shapes in the sample content. I'm using those shapes. So let's go ahead and spawn a shape here. I'm going to spawn a cube. Oh, well, that's not a cube. That is, let's see, I need it. There we go, cube. All right. So hit 1 and we spawn. All right, then we're going to go over here. Bam. Bam. Now we have spawned 3 cubes here, and then I'm going to just move to this capsule here. All right, so we spawned a set of capsules and we spawned some cubes, and I'm going to go ahead and exit build mode and actually select the cube. Currently, the default color is set for purple. I'm going to have that changed to whatever the player color is selected. And we can move this object kind of like holding the object and then move it around. That's going to be one kind of method of grabbing objects and moving them around. And the second option for grabbing objects is that you would stay in a stationary position with the camera and actually just control that object individually. That's going to be another way of viewing and controlling the object. This particular method gives a more gamey mechanic to it. All right, so the current input allows you to rotate the object with the mouse, and we can scale it also with the mouse input. I don't have it set up to lock on a particular axis right now, so you're using both axes, X, Y, Z axes. We're going to change that up where you can select those independently, and that would also include moving moving left, right, up, down, forward, backwards. That kind of movement. The object. All right. Uh-oh. Let's see here. Got that somehow. Now, what I actually used to get this functionality put in quickly was the PUPI marketplace package. By getting that package and then integrating that package, I was able to add this functionality relatively quickly, and that is what we have. All right, guys. So we can move physical objects and apply physics. There's some filtering that you can do by using specific types of tags to deal with objects that have physics. We can deal with objects that are using skeletal meshes that have bones inside of them or sockets. There's also an inspection tag that you can use to view a specific object, kind of like in an inspection mode. And as you can see, this is Tech Lord's Book of Tech. All right, guys. So that's currently where we are with the development, or the first portion of PROTOS. We're going to be integrating the new entity code or blueprints that D-Pro has set up. I'm really excited about this because this is going to change or improve our speed on developing our games. So this is ultimately the modular entity construction for everything. And that's got some bugs here that need to be fixed up. Yeah, but that is it, guys. Glad to be back off of my trip, and if you have any other questions, please post those in the Discord chat. We're going to be doing what we probably want to do is improve on our task assignment and put the planner to use. The planner is not being utilized by everyone like it should be. Folks are working on things. Nobody knows what they're doing. Hey, guys, that's what the planner's for. It will help you organize and coordinate with each other better. If you don't have a planner account and you think, and you should, let me know and we'll get you an invitation to the appropriate project. We have a project for planner for every project, and so we'll get you assigned to that and get you rolling. You assign your own task. If you're collaborating with someone, you'll have to put your names on both. I think you can assign multiple members to a task. You have to put your names on it. So if you're looking for the exact timeline on the development for PROTOS, go to the CN Tribes project and click here on the PROTOS framework support, and that should take you to the cards that are dealing with the PROTOS aspect. a milestone. That's what this is, the milestone. And each one of these editors are part of PROTOS. So there is a, let's see here, kind of give you an idea what's going on there. Now, PROTOS is just the base editing framework. Hope I'm not missing something there. I'm at to double check. From there, we'll spawn off different types of editors for our own use and for others if they're using the PROTOS framework. Golden Craft, renamed under Monster Mash, is for creating creatures. Use the collage construction process. There are going to be some other methods, like procedural shapes, that kind of thing, that will be allow you to create monsters. Then you got Glamour. Glamour is just a name for a garments editor. Really, we don't really have a good idea on how we're going to approach it, but we're getting inspiration from Marvelous Designer. UMix will be for vehicles, Gunverter for fire weapons, Glade Wave for melee. And these names here, they're just names that will quickly, that you can use to associate to what particular editor does what. And that's what this is here for. So, all right, guys, that's going to conclude my talk on PROTOS. I think I had a couple of those, and just want everybody to stay motivated. Assign yourself some tasks, and let's talk about what we're doing in this game development. Because the truth is, we want to save time. We simply don't have enough time or people to start everything from scratch or spend a lot of time on different aspects. We have packages for artificial intelligence. We have packages for practically every aspect of the game development process. So let's talk about it. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon.